welcome back to part 4 of my instructional series on FoamCore inserts. In this case, we're making one for Great Western Trail. This week, or this time, what we're going to be doing is actually making some trays to fit into the box. So last time we made the internal frame, which is sitting in the base box, in the base of the box at the moment. And what we're going to start with this time is we're going to make some trays to sit in here to hold the player pieces. Now, you may remember that I left this edge off the insert to give us a bit more space to fit the cards in. Unfortunately, what I've found, and so basically we want to make boxes with these cards sitting inside them. And the idea was to have the boxes, basically 4 individual boxes, and they'd have to have outsides, obviously. And so, but what I've found, unfortunately, is that with the thickness of a box, this is really, really tight. It's really close. I don't like that lack of tolerance there. It'd be very, very tight and very hard to accurately mark and glue. So what I'm instead going to do, as I said in the previous video, I often like to use cardboard in lieu of FoamCore just to give me a little bit of extra wiggle room. And so if I use, this is just an offcut, but I've got some more cardboard of this thickness. If I use that as an end for one end of the box, that'll give me a lot more play. So I'll what I'll do is you've seen me doing a lot of cutting and gluing on camera. What I'll do this time now is I'll just cut the pieces out and I'll explain them to you once I've cut them out, and then and sort of do the work off camera, so you don't have to sit there watching me cutting. The other thing I've looked at is I don't think there's actually quite enough room to have 4 individual trays, because 4 individual trays, each with a side, is 8 layers of FoamCore, if you think, 1 on each side of each tray. So I've laid it out. I'm not going to do it now, but I've laid it out, and I don't think there's quite enough room to do that either. So what I'm going to actually do is make 2 trays, each with 2 colors, basically, in each. So I will now go and cut the pieces, and through the magic of editing, we have the pieces ready to go. So you can see I have a base piece here that I've rabbit cut. I have one side which will sit like this. I then have 2 side pieces which will go on like this. This is the other side piece, which actually sits within and is slightly shorter, which I'll explain in a minute. This cardboard piece, which I've cut the notches into, these are for fingers. You can see here how I've done it. It's quite a thick gauge of cardboard. This will sit on this side like so. This central divider has a notch cut out of it, so it sits on top of this piece that goes on this side, and you can see it sits on top there like that. And then these 2 pieces will sit inside this end. Like that. Keeping everything nice and flush. So the idea being to have these 2, this piece at this end and this piece at this end, is for a platform essentially for the cards to sit on, like this, and then all the player pieces will sit in that space underneath. I'm not partitioning them in any particular way. I might do that later, but as it is, I just basically want to make a reservoir for everything to sit in, and then yeah, if I feel like I need more organization than that in the future, I'll work on that. So what I'll do now is I'll glue this together, and yeah, show the finished product once it's glued. All right, so that's most of the box glued together. You can see I've put pins pretty much everywhere just to hold it together. I'm just about to glue this cardboard piece on the end, but what I'm going to actually do is I've got these short nails, so I'm going to actually pop some of those into this side to reinforce this central piece. This side down here doesn't need the reinforcement because there's these two internal sort of platforms, so that goes down the middle, so that's holding it quite sturdy there. I just want to make sure that this doesn't start wobbling around. So what I'll do is I've got some pins currently holding that in place. I'll pull one out, take one of these nails and slide it in, and then basically what I'll do is I'll just get the other nail and just gently, so as to not push it too far, is just pop the head through the first layer of cardboard. So it's just basically sitting internal to the piece of FoamCore, and that way, when I do the other one now, that way when I glue the cardboard piece on the outside, there won't be any lump. I'll use the corner of my ruler. Apologies if you can hear my cat in the background. There's must be a stray or something outside and he's going a little bit crazy at the moment. All right, so now that that's done, I can glue this piece on. And there we have one of the finished boxes. So you can see here that there's the cards don't come all the way down to the bottom of here. There's actually, this cardboard sits a little bit below that layer of FoamCore. So when you tilt the box on the side, you can get your finger in there and pop the cards out, and then all the pieces sit inside. The cards, as I said, sit on top of here and here, but they sit below the layer of all the FoamCore and the card at the top, so they don't come out. So this is the yellow and the white box. If I just grab this, they fit in there like that, and then the other one will fit in there. It's sitting over there and drying at the moment. I made the tolerances for this box quite tight. The joy of using a rabbit cut to fit your pieces together is that you can afford to be quite tight with your measurements. Here's a piece. Here's a scrap piece. My rabbit joiner anyway, which is what is it? It's a FoamWorks rabbit cutter. This is 5mm FoamCore. It actually cuts a 6mm piece out of the side, and it's 4mm deep. So it leaves a 1mm thick piece at the bottom, and it cuts it in 6mm. So when you join a piece together, I'm not sure if you can see that. There's actually a little lip, yeah, just there. And so what you can do is, once you've glued this in, if you get a really sharp knife, you can actually slice that tiny little piece off, and that actually allows you 1 extra mil on either side. 2 mil in a box where your tolerances is quite tight actually allows for quite a lot of room. So it'll just sort of make things fit that little bit better. So now that those are done, what we're now going to work towards is the card tray, or the card caddy. So we're going to have a tray here that sits in here with the two types of play so I guess not contracts, but scoring cards and cow cards from the cow market sitting in a tray that's going to come out. What I've found is that when I've sort of measured up this tray, there's actually quite a large space in between. So what I'm actually going to do is have the tray sit on the bottom with these, and then in the middle of the tray, in this tray, is actually going to be a compartment to store these tokens that come with the expansion. So they'll sit in the middle of this tray, and then on top of this tray, I'll have another tray that has all the coins in it. Again, though, I don't have a lot of height here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the coin tray with a card base, and then I'll line it with coloured card just to give it a bit of extra rigidity. But that should be fine. It's just basically a flat bowl to keep the cards in, to keep the coins in on the table anyway. So what I'll do now is I'll measure and cut those up, and so we'll try again with our magical editing skills. All right, so much simpler sort of construction for the card caddy. So we're going to have basically 2 stacks of cards like this. We're going to have sides. That's going to sit there. I'll show you why that's not sitting in a second. And there. And then we're going to have internal dividers there for the tokens in the middle. This this coin tray is pretty simple as well. It's just, you know, 2 ends, 2 sides, a middle bit, and 2 end pieces. And then I have another piece that's going to be an internal partition in the box to stop the card caddy and this from sliding around. While I was using my rabbit joiner to cut these side pieces, the blade is starting to get a bit blunt, and you'll see that it's sort of torn and pulled the FoamCore as it's cut. Here's the piece that it shredded out. So you can see it's just absolutely pulverized it. This is a good indication that your blades are starting to get blunt. So if your Stanley knife starts getting blunt, then that'll do it as well. So that's a very good indication that you need to replace your blade. And in this case, the rabbit joiner is starting to get blunt, so I'll need to replace the blades in that. All right, so I'll glue these together, and we'll have a look when we're finished. Okay, so all the trays are now completed. So the card caddy is finished. So cards on either side, easy to draw out of, and the tray in the middle. I've stuck in this partition here, so this will fit in this hole here. The coin tray, so you can see it's very simple, very thin, but doesn't need to be any thicker than that. The coins are sitting in there fine. So that sits on top. And then we have 2 trays for the player pieces, each one having the starting deck of cards sitting on top with the wooden pieces and the buildings and the other associated cardboard tokens underneath. And these fit in the box up here like that. All right, so any normal person would probably be done at this point. The scorecard, these long tiles here from the expansion, these bags with the hazards and employee tokens, and then you'd probably just have, you know, a couple of plastic baggies to put these buildings and associated tokens into. That's not how I roll though. So we'll probably put a pin in this one here, but next time we're going to basically do the fancy stuff. So I'm going to make something in this compartment to hold these tokens neatly so they're ready and accessible. And then what we'll do is we'll line the coin trays, the coin tray and this tray here with curved sides. I don't think I've got enough depth to do the coin tray with curved sides, but I will line them with coloured card just to colour code them to the coins. Yeah, so, and once we've done that, that'll be it. We'll be finished. So I hope you can join me then. Thank you for watching.